and scare people away from the topic I chose to speak on today. Rich internet applications. I'm going to try and fix this. So rich internet applications with the Adobe Flash platform. Real quick introduction. My name is Maestre. I work for Santa Clara University, and I've been doing web development for over 10 years, mostly with ColdFusion. I did some early work with Flash back in versions 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then sort of shifted focus and started working more with just ColdFusion. Came back into the Flash world with the introduction of Flex, and have been working with Flex for about 2 years, more intensely the last year or so, and I'm a proud father of 2 princesses.
I was going to say that doesn't look like.
No, looks like my wife. So what is a rich internet application? I'll just give a quick rundown. It involves rich interfaces, which I would describe as moving away from the HTML model of I request, I click a link or I click a button on a form and it goes off to the server, and then I wait a second and then my page magically updates. With a richer interface, you'll use motion, color, resizing of objects to give people feedback that something's updated or that some content has changed. Sort of guiding people using other things, using motion and things like that to make it a little bit of a richer experience. Bringing in rich media like beyond text and images, bringing in audio, video, also bringing in maps and things like that, using like a Google Maps or a Yahoo Maps and bringing that into your application. And bringing in data that's rich in content, talking to other web services that are out there like Flickr or Twitter or now Facebook has an API that you can contact and bring that data into your rich internet application and maybe do something interesting with it, combine it with data that you have. And the last aspect of a rich internet application is that you can take it offline, which is part of the with the Flash platform, using Adobe Air to take your application and then make it into a desktop application and doing interesting things with that. There's 2 kinds of RIA rich internet applications that you can design. One is a sovereign application, which takes your focus, sort of like Microsoft Word or Photoshop. But then there's another kind that's a transient application, which is more like a chat client or a Twitter client that you look at occasionally, but it isn't your sole focus all the time. And you can build either of those kinds using the Flash platform. Here's some examples that I pulled off the web of different companies that are using the Flash platform to build RIAs. The New York Times has a nice Air reader that downloads the last week's worth of newspapers. Picnic is a nice one that has sort of Photoshop features. You can upload a photo, do a lot of manipulation of that photo, and then save it or publish it to a website. And if you want to look at this URL down at the bottom, there's a lot more examples of Flex applications you can look at. So I'm going to do a quick demo. This is a website called Scrapblog, and it allows you to create scrapbooks using the Flash platform. I'm just going to go in and just do a real quick one here. You can select different themes. Some you have to pay for, but I'm going to grab a free one here. And unfortunately, I'm cursed with a 600 by 800 monitor here, so I'm going to do my best. So when we talk about rich interfaces, you can see that this looks a lot, this is running my browser, but it looks a lot like something you download or install off of a CD and run like I mentioned, Word or Photoshop or something like that. It's got file menus up here, so you can open and save your content. You can undo things. And you can also grab objects and drag them around, which is really nice. You can also, you have different kinds of media here. So rich media, you've got stickers you can drag and drop onto your canvas. They've got video that you can bring in. But I want to show photos because when I was playing with this, I was impressed that you have all these different options. You can actually upload photos off your hard drive. You can bring them in from different web services like PhotoBucket or Flickr. And this Facebook one is actually pretty nifty. I've already told it to save my Facebook information, and it connects to Facebook and it pulls up all the albums that I've uploaded to Facebook. And there's my cat. And let's say, oh, not that yet. I can slide this over a little bit. I can't really slide it. Well, when I click this, it's going to move it over. So that moved it over. And now it's in my photo list. I can drag and drop it on here. Ask if I want to do anything with it. I say no. And now I can actually manipulate this image inside here. So I can rotate it. So I can rotate it, and I can do other things, get fancy with my photos. And when I'm done, I can publish it. I'm not going to make you wait to see it. I actually have one that I finished already. So here's some pictures. I hit play, and it does a nice little transition between the pages. And this is all done with on the Flash platform using Flex. And I'm going to close out that. How many people here are using Twitter or something like that? Okay. If you're using some sort of client, this is a nice one that was built with Flex and Era. This is TweetDeck, and I can actually, it can say I install this on my hard drive, and then I can put in my user account information. They can pull up all my friends, replies. I could do a search for CaliCon 09, and it remembers that and refreshes. And I can also connect again to my Facebook status and get all my status coming in here. And I discovered this yesterday when I was playing around with it. You can actually put your mouse over and you can retweet things directly from this interface. So if you're familiar with Twitter, if you go to the Twitter website, you have an account, you have a profile, you can do some things with it, but I think TweetDeck's taken that a step further and given you additional things you can play with, like being able to retweet directly from here. It's really easy to do, and there's a bunch of other little features you can do. So close that up.
And just out of curiosity, are those both Flash apps that are running inside a browser, or are they like Ajax or something like that?
No, they're both written. I'm going to use the word Flex and Flash interchangeably because Adobe just rebranded FlexBuilder as FlashBuilder to sort of align it with the Flash platform. But it's built with Flex, and TweetDeck is then compiled into an Air application, which is just a preference you set up when you're creating a new project. And so you can take the exact same code, deploy it to a browser using Flex, or you can deploy it to your desktop as an Air package. And it's the exact same code, just a few little tweaks and you're good to go. So yeah, those aren't done with Ajax, but you can do things with Ajax and deploy them to a desktop using Air. That's an option as well. So let's see if I can get here. That's my demo. And you don't have to just use the Flash platform if you're interested in developing a rich internet application. If you are using Ajax, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and you've built some applications that have a rich interface, you can take that and deploy that to your website or to your browser using Air, if you like. Silverlight is Microsoft's competitor with Flash. I haven't played around with it myself, but they're on version 3, so they're obviously very serious about moving into the RIA space. JavaFX is for Java developers. I think that's on version 1. And then we have the Flash platform, and Adobe's just come out with FlexBuilder 4 is in beta, so that was just released. So I did this little graphic to kind of illustrate the pieces of the platform. We have 2 client options. One's the Flash player, and that runs in your browser or on some device that's Flash enabled. And then you've got the Air desktop client. We have the Flex framework, and then we have 3 different kinds of design tools. Flash Professional, which is the original Flash Builder, and then their new product, Flash Catalyst, which is for designers. And I'm going to go into detail about each of these when I finish with this slide. And then we have some server technology and some services that I'll discuss. So Flash Player. Flash Player has been around for over 10 years. The stat is that it's got 99% penetration on browsers that are connected to the internet. And I think sites like YouTube have definitely made that adoption rate hit that high number, as well as when a new browser or when a new version of the player comes out, people upgrade pretty quickly. Let's see.
Have you heard if they've made any directions going to the BlackBerry, to Flash with BlackBerry?
No, but I did hear that they were going to be available on the pre. But I haven't heard about the BlackBerry. I know that they are working really hard. In the conferences that I've been to, they talk a lot about how they want to bring it to the mobile platform, but there's issues with it needing a faster processor. Like, I don't think it'll run on the current iPhone because the processor just isn't fast enough, so they're either going to tweak the code or wait till the smartphones catch up. As far as
The penetration of the BlackBerry and the iPhone are a lot heavier than with the pre-book. The pre is a hot, sexy product, but I mean, the BlackBerry's in the marketplace now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. No. I agree. I think right now there isn't really a strong Flash presence on phones. It's just not there. They have something called Flashlight that's been around for a while, but don't think that that's the Flash player at all as far as capabilities. I mentioned the Air runtime, and you can deploy either a Flash or an Ajax application to the desktop. It's nice because when you deploy an Air file, it can be downloaded and installed on a Mac or Windows or Linux, and it'll run exactly the same. There's no tweaking of the code to make it run. It interacts with the person's desktop and their operating system, so you can save data to someone's hard drive. You can drag and drop between your Air interface and the person's desktop, and it gives you a little bit more access. You can also store information locally. It comes with a SQL-like database. So if you want to download some information and store it locally, you can do that. Or if they're offline and they want to enter information into a form, you can save that locally, and the next time they're online, detect that and then sync the data back up. So there's definitely some advantages to using Air. I just had to include this because I found it when I was searching around for a balloon image on the internet, and I think Darth Vader was cool. Flex framework. I think this is why the car companies are in trouble. I found this. The Flex framework is essentially a bunch of pre-built components that are built with Flash that you get when you use Flash Builder. You just open it up and you get all these great buttons and sliders and navigation controls, and you can even extend and modify them. But the Flex framework is an open source project that Adobe has put out there, and I think it's in version 3.3 currently. Flash Professional. I'm not going to talk too much about the original Flash animation tool because it's timeline based. It's great for doing animations and things with graphics, but it wasn't really designed for building RIAs. So unless you're already into Flash Professional and you're a pro at that, you might want to skip that and go straight to Flash Builder, which as I mentioned, has all these pre-built components, which are really great. Something that Adobe did last year, which was nice, was they made it free to educators. So you don't have to be a professor, you don't have to be a student, you can be a staff at a university, and you can go and download a free copy of FlexBuilder 3 right now, or if you want to be leading edge, you can go and download FlashBuilder 4 beta and play around with that. And I'm going to put, the last slide of this deck has a link to a blog posting where I have links to where you can go download and get a free copy of FlexBuilder 3, and anything I mentioned that has a URL, I've pretty much put on that blog posting, so you can get to it. All right. Okay, so demo time. I think this might be of interest to this audience. Probably more coders in here. So I just grabbed, I just created this simple component here where I dragged a bunch of, or stage where I grabbed a bunch of components and just laid them out here. So you can see what the variety is like. On the left here, we've got all the different form elements that you normally see. We've got a rich text editor, and a navigation accordion, a data grid, and I'm going to launch this and see if visible here. Okay, so we've got our nice little check boxes here, and we've got our radio, our combo box, text input. We've got a nice little date picker, and this is all pre-built, comes out of the box. Your color picker there. Do your text, rich text editor. Highlight the text. Style it, make it bold, make it a link. Let's get down here. An accordion pane, so you can drop, like I dropped some text inside of that accordion pane. A data grid, this is great if you're pulling several columns of data out of a database. You can just find that data when it comes back to this data grid here, and it'll display. It's got some different layout options. I have this panel here where you can just add a little panel label and again drop other components inside there. And it's got a nice little tab navigator. So that's okay. So those are some examples. Let's look at the source. If you haven't seen the source code before, the markup language they use is called MXML. And if you do HTML work or you do ColdFusion work, then this looks fairly readable. It's understandable what we're building here. We've got a combo box, and I've got my array of fruit there that I'm assigning to the label and the data. I've got my radio button, all these nice little components. And you can go in, and it's got lots of different properties you can change, and you can style these and give it your own look if you'd like. So in this example, I've got a data grid, and at the bottom, which we can't see, is a button that's going to go and load an XML file and bind that XML data to this data grid. So I'll go back to the source so we can take a look at that. This is it. This is all the code that we need. I've got 3 tags I'm using. I've got this HTTP service, which is pointing to a XML file called slideshow. And I've got my data grid here, and I've got 2 data fields, or two fields of data that are coming back a description, and then a path to image. And then I've got my button down here with a click event that's telling the HTTP service to go ahead and call the website or call the local file and load it. And then the last thing that happens is the results come back, and that fires off this results handler up here and passes in an event. And I assign that event to this photo AC, which is an array collection. And then we bind it to our data grid. And if I go back here and run it, just scroll down. Oh, there I can see my button. Great. So I click my button, and boom, there we have our description and our image path. And if we go back, XML actually looks like. Here, images, and there's your XML. So it's really easy. If you want to pull in a blog feed, for example, you just point it to that XML file on your server, and you pull that RSS feed down, and then you can bind it to a data grid, or you can do other things with the data to display. And I'll show you an app that I built that actually does that. It calls out to our blog and pulls down our feeds and things like that. So that's that example. And I've got one more I want to show. Here. And so in this example, I've got a tile list, which is similar to the data grid, just a little bit different, and I've got it rendering the actual image. So now it actually pulls up and assigns that image path to an actual image tag, and I also have my description text above it. And if I mouse over it, I could click on one of these and have it do something like open up a larger version if these were thumbnails, or take some other action. That is FlashBuilder. Next project, Flash Catalyst. So this is in version 1 beta, so it just came out. You can download a free copy and play with it if you want today. And this is a nice product because it's designed for, it's aimed at designers. So if you've got people or resources that are good with Photoshop or Illustrator or Fireworks or whatever, you can actually take those graphics, have them lay them out exactly how you want your interface to look like, and you can bring it in and start adding interactivity. You can actually grab a field or something that's just a regular box in Illustrator and just say convert to a text input, or convert this box into a button, and it will do everything for you just magically. And when you're done and you're ready to hook it up to your backend, to your database, you can take that Catalyst file and bring it into FlashBuilder, and then hook up to an HTTP service or to some remote object service and call out and bring your data in and actually bring your application to life. But if you want to do some rapid prototyping and actually get feedback where they can click on things and your buttons light up and things slide in and out, you can do all that with Flash Catalyst. And I have a quick demo of Catalyst I want to show you. So this is an employee directory. There it is. Okay, so this is like an employee directory application you might build, and this was all done in Illustrator. And if I click on this, it just tells me that it's just a group of a vector artwork. If I want to convert that into a text input, I just grab those two objects, go up here to my heads-up display, and say make that into a text input. Boom, it's done. See, I've got a button down here. I want to make that into a button. Convert that into a button. And let's say I want to make it a little more interactive, not just a regular button. I actually want to have it, the background turned red when I put my mouse over it. So I select that mouse over state. On the right here, I've got my layers panel. I can open that up. Sorry, it's so hard to see. I can select the background square, which is gray. Designing your law school homepage, and I think my website is at the very top with the 1024 width, so I'm suffering with this 800 by 600 today. I'll remember that next time. And here's another cool thing you can do. You can actually grab the components of your slider, all these pieces, these graphics, grab them all together, and say I want to make that into a vertical scroll bar. And Catalyst does a nice job of telling you that you still have a few more more things you need to do with this component to make it actually function. I need to go and do a little editing. I need to actually assign what these pieces do. So I want this to be my my thumb, and I want this to be my track. Go back here, and I'm going to do one last thing. I'm going to grab this box, grab these objects here, and I'm going to make that into a data list. Sort of like that data grid we saw with FlexBuilder. And I'm going to see that I have some issues still, so I need to go in and edit those parts. I need to actually tell it that this is the item that's going to be rendered. So repeat this item for me. Sure. Goes back and gives me a few more. And then on the right here, it actually says, you can't see it, but off to the right, it says like runtime display or something like that. But I can actually go in here and I can add additional rows. Adds it right there in my display. And here's my little breadcrumb thing. That's how I'm getting back to my main view. And see, I lost my little scroll bar, so I'm going to grab that. And to make sure that my vertical scroll bar here is associated with my data list, I'm going to cut it. Got my data list here. Go into edit mode. Hit paste. There's my vertical scroll bar. Boom. So now is the magic. See if it actually runs. Crash. And there it is. I can double click. I got my little text box. I pull down, I mouse over, it turns red, and here's the real text. It scrolls. There it is. And I actually have a more complete version which I can open up and not watch me do anything. I'll just open up and run it. Save it. So this has 3 different states. So it actually will expand and change as I click on things. So I've got my search box. Type in some info, hit the enter button, slides open for me, I mouse over, click on the guy, opens up, gives me a bunch of details, and I close that. So that is Flash Catalyst. If you have any questions, please jump in.
You said FlexBuilder was free to educators. What about Catalyst?
Catalyst is not free as far as I know. In fact, they don't even have pricing yet because it's in beta. But you can download, and I think beta will run for at least 30 days. And I'm not sure when they're going to release it.
So I started work on a kiosk in the education internally, and that would be perfect for that company.
Yeah. Well, this would, I mean, even if you don't use the code from this is a really great way to get feedback from your users without having to build all that backend code or JavaScript or whatever you're going to do. You can just mock it up in this Catalyst and add that interactivity. And I'm definitely looking to use this in any projects that I need to get user feedback from. So let's see what else we've got. Okay, let's go back to the slides. Okay, so communication options. What do we have? How can we talk to our databases and all that data out there on the web? I showed the HTTP service, which is probably the simplest way to communicate, because you just call out to like an XML file and it comes back. You don't have to use any passwords or anything, or even need a database. You can also use a web service tag, where you can call out to a web service and have it bring data back. It's not a tag I've used because I don't access any web services. The third option is called the remote object, and the remote object tag can talk with PHP, Java, ColdFusion, .NET. So we can talk to any of those options using the remote object. And that's actually a really good option to use because the what is called the Action Message Format, or AMF. And what that does is it takes your data and compresses it into a binary format and sends it over the wire really fast because it's been compressed real small. And then it gets unpackaged when it hits your application and then displayed. And the example that I saw, or the demo I saw, had like 10,000 records being brought over in XML versus 10,000 records being brought over in remote object. And I think it was 60 seconds versus like 6 seconds. So there was definitely a huge performance difference when you get to larger data sets, like 10,000 records and things like that. So ColdFusion. The nice thing about ColdFusion is in version 7.02, they actually built in remote object support into ColdFusion. So if you have ColdFusion running out of the box, you can just turn on flash remoting and you're ready to go. You can start calling CFCs, you can pass them information, pass them parameters, have them return back a query, and that query automatically gets turned into an array collection, which you can then bind to a data list or something like that. If you don't have ColdFusion and you're using a different backend technology, then you can look at this open source project called BlazeDS that Adobe has put out, and since it's open source, it's free, and it gives you all that. It gives you that access to AMF, but using a different technology like PHP or Java or .NET. But if you want to move beyond just giving calls to a database, and you actually want to be able to push data down to all your clients in real time, then the other product that's out there is called Lifecycle Data Services. And this is really enterprise level. It's very expensive. I hear it's in like the $10,000 or $15,000 range. And you get everything in BlazeDS. You get everything from Lifecycle Data Services in BlazeDS except for data push. So if you wanted to create a chat client that was talking in real time, or you had all these dashboards out there, a dashboard application that when the database changes, you want everyone's display to automatically get refreshed with data, then you would want to look at Lifecycle Data Services for that. And they just came out with version 3 that's in beta like this week. And I haven't had a chance to read anything about it, but maybe they've added some cool new features, I'm not sure. Flash Media Server. If you're serving up FLVs, Flash Media, then you might want to look at this product if you don't have it already. I haven't used it myself, but I did a little bit of research, and the way they describe it is it's a streaming video versus progressive download. Progressive download is when, it's like when you call a web page and it downloads your JavaScript and your CSS file and your HTML, that's progressive. With streaming though, they've got the ability to connect what the client's bandwidth is like. So if your network is saturated, instead of the video starting to skip or the download stalling, it can actually downgrade the quality of the video so that the stream continues to go uninterrupted for your clients. It has a faster playback, so it doesn't have to buffer a lot of information before the video starts playing. The content isn't cached, and I thought this was interesting because if you're worried about DRM, it actually, when they stream the video over the wire to the client, it doesn't get cached in your browser, so you can't hunt around and pull out that FLV file and do anything with it because it's not there, it doesn't get cached. Also, if you have concerns about bandwidth, instead of downloading a 100 gigabyte video file and the person watches 3 minutes of it, well, you paid for that 100 gigabytes. With streaming, it'll start streaming. If they watch 3 minutes of it and then leave, you've only downloaded, only a percentage of that. You haven't downloaded the whole 100% for them to start playing it. And I actually looked up the price on this in case somebody was curious. There's actually an education price of $800 if you wanted to go the route of the media server.
There's 2 versions of it. I just bought the one. I just bought the high-end one. It was like $1,700.
Yes. They actually have. I was a little confused. I was looking on their website because I've not used it. I looked at the different products, and the one I was just talking about is like I think their basic one.
Yeah, I think it was like 400.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like the education price.
high-end one was quoted on Adobe's site at like 4,000 or something.
Yeah.
I think that does like real-time encoding if you want to do live broadcasting. And
That'd be good.
Yeah, it just has a lot more features, and so.
I think even more DRM too. I think it's got other options for DRM distribution.
I haven't got it yet. I just ordered it last week. So
Okay, cool. Next year you can present on that. Let us all know. And the last thing I want to talk about is also brand new. It's called Adobe Flash Collaboration Services. So if you're using Connect, or you were in that presentation the other day, yesterday that Wes did, where he talked about Connect Pro and Adobe Connect. Adobe Flash Collaboration Services allows you to get everything you get in Connect, meaning web chat, voice over IP, whiteboards, I can't remember all the things that it comes in, but basically you get everything, real-time file sharing, you get everything in components that you can bring into Flex and start manipulating and skinning and do whatever you want with it. The only thing it doesn't give you is screen sharing. And I actually talked to a friend of mine at Adobe. He said the reason is that there's security issues. Like, you wouldn't want someone to start watching your screen without you knowing it. You know, there's just too much of a security risk. So only Adobe provides that through their Connect Now. This Flash Collaboration Services actually is it's in beta as well, but it's free for developers. You can go and just create an account for free, and you can start playing around with it. They haven't released pricing or anything, so I have no idea what it would cost to have, to create an application that uses this service. But something to think about, that it's an option that's coming down the road. It will be available soon.
When you call into the Dell website for assistance, and they take over your computer, is that what they're using? Is Flash collaboration?
I don't think so. I don't think it has the ability to take over and control a computer. I know there's lots of software that does that, but this is more for like a GoToMeeting or or WebEx or something like that. It's a way of creating a conferencing, and you can have, you can create rooms, and you can allow people to meet in rooms, and you can set user permissions, and so I think there's a potential for people to basically create their own little distance learning module or something like that, distance learning application, and be creative, think of ways to move beyond what just is available on the marketplace. So Unity. Unity is a little Flex Air app that I built in Santa Clara, and I call it that because what we're trying to do is unify our communication streams. We have blogs, we have Twitter, we have an event calendar, we've got a news feed, we've got photo albums on the website, and I thought, well, it would be nice to bring that all into one interface, make it into an Air app, and allow the students to download it and pull it up and get sort of a heads up like what's happening this week, instead of having to hunt around our website to 5 different places to get the information they want, and they're not reading their email anyway, so that probably helps. I'm going to warn you, I'm going to demo this, but it's still alpha. I got it as close as I could, and then the conference came and I had to have something for you guys. And the code is going to be, it is now, right now is available at the blog post that I talked about earlier, so you guys can download it and play with it, rip it apart, do whatever you want with it. No big deal to me. There's also another project I put up there, which is like a slideshow, which is sort of like where I pull in those images and then you can click and see bigger versions of the images. That code is up there as well, so you can download that if you want to get your free copy of FlexBuilder and open up the code and see what I was doing. So, let's see. Even create my own little Santa Clara icon there. So, you look at your toolbar, you can, with Air, you can brand it with your own university icon. So, it's kind of nice. You can make the background transparent, so your application actually has its own Chrome. That's what we call it. So, I made it sort of be a regular shape here. I'm pulling up this week's event. using that accordion component that we saw earlier. So I click on it. I don't have any events really scheduled because it's summer, but I threw in the Cali conference on there. We have different blog posts that are coming in here. And down at the bottom, we have our Twitter feed. So, unfortunately, this is bigger than 800. Got different areas. I've got a news feed here. I can pull that up and I can search Alexander. So, I get a story about the Alexander Community Center. I click on that link, it pulls up the full story. You can read through it. Pull up our photos here. I added a filter here by date, so if I wanted to go and pull up just the photos that were taken between May and today, get my graduation photos. And if I see one I like, I click on it, it opens up a large version. And these are all coming off of those XML sheets. We have a whole bunch of XML files that define all these photo albums, because I wanted to allow our content editor to create our own albums without me having to get involved. And then we created them, and I said, wow, I'd like to bring them all together. So actually, I'm bringing them all into ColdFusion, and then looping over them and basically creating a single query for all of my photo albums together. And then I just put in my date range and it pulls it back from ColdFusion. Also have my events. And here's Callie. I clicked on that. Gives me all my details about my presentation today. And we've got a ton of blogs. We've got 589 posts here. I thought it'd be nice for students to be able to search all the blogs from here. I don't know. 4 events with the word events. Did I mention that? This should say blogs. Anyways, I can do the advanced search. That was kind of nice. I could actually deselect all the topics and say I only want page from financial aid. So I got 6 events, 6 blog posts for financial aid. Click on it, it gives me all the details for my blog post. That. Unity.
Where was that grabbing its state?
It was hitting that Santa Clara server, hitting CFCs, and passing back the queries for each of the different types of data I want back.
So how long does it take to set up?
To do Unity?
Like a 1-week project, or is it?
No. No. It's here's
7 years.
Yeah.
But it looks great.
Oh, thanks.
It works beautifully.
No, I think I started in earnest playing around and seriously getting into Flex in January, and I probably started working seriously on Unity in March. You know, along with all the other duties you do in your job. But I think you have to get through those hurdles of learning Flash or Flex, and then once you get through some of those hurdles, it becomes a lot easier to do a lot of the things you're doing. So there's definitely a learning curve. In fact, I've got a bunch of links to resources to learn more. Adobe has a 7-day video tutorial course. It's like learn it in a week kind of deal, and that's really good. Lynda.com, I've gone through those tutorials. I went through TotalTraining.com. They do good ones. I've got a couple books that I purchased. I listen to podcasts about Flex, and a bunch of other places. I've got a bunch of links. I'm wondering if I missed anything else. Oh, also, I'm a user group manager for ColdFusion in the Bay Area, so I'm involved in the community, and I think that's a really great way to go and learn something new. If you want to learn Flex, contact your local user group. Just go to groups.adobe.com and search for it. And they even have online groups where you can watch a Connect presentation that's been recorded, and they're usually about an hour long, and they'll focus on one aspect or one piece of the technology. And yeah, that's about it. I've got all my other links up there.
You said in Unity you use ColdFusion back on your server.
Yeah.
I'm not a ColdFusion person, but
Sure.
So that would be that remote object kind of,
That's where you would want to look
so
at
it
it.
could accomplish that same kind of app, but I would use a different.
You would use BlazeDS. You install a BlazeDS on your server, and then that would help you connect with PHP back to your application. Yeah, I'm not. I haven't used BlazeDS, so I don't know what it would take to configure it. But I'm sure if you did some Google searches, I'm sure people have blogged about it. Would give it step-by-step instruction how to install, how to configure it.
Basically, like BlazeDS, like if you're, just for a simple example, the one where you had a list of people, and you know,
Yeah.
put in a name or something,
Sure.
does that basically take that name and then pass it as a variable into like the PHP script
Absolutely.
to pull the information from whatever database, and then somehow whatever the return is,
Yep.
it puts that in a format that Flash is going to need to
Yeah.
populate?
Exactly. Yeah, it's that translation of the format that I think is what AMF is really good for doing. Because with ColdFusion, it's called a query that you're returning, but in Flex, they don't have anything that's the closest thing to a query is called an array collection. So there needs to be this translation that happens, and it does it all for you. So when you get back, the object that actually gets returned is an array collection, which you can immediately start using. You don't have to do any fiddling with the actual object you get back. And it can, and usually they're pretty complex objects. You know, it's like from a row from a table in a database is what they're returning, or multiple rows that you want to loop over and do some stuff. So here's the link right here to the tiny URL that you can pull up, and that's a blog post off my personal site. It was easy for me to throw it up there, and you can get links to the beta downloads I talked about, to the free version of FlexBuilder 3, to the code for the apps that I've written, as well as all the places you can go and learn more, and, you know, whether it's free or paid for resources for learning.
For the photos that are in there, since it's delivered as an AIR application, it looks like you can't export them. So you can maybe enable that. Are the people that are putting them together concerned about like people going in and taking all the pictures or doing something with them and all? Or was that an aspect of what you did to put it in?
No, that wasn't really an aspect. I think the reason we did it was to just make it a nice way for people to browse photos.
And are those and are they already on the Santa Clara site somewhere else?
Yeah, they're sitting on this. They're sitting on our site in a directory. For each album is broken down into its own directory, and so the path in the XML file points into that directory to each image.
Right, and what I'm asking is, if I went to the Santa Clara website, could I go to a place where I could, I could find all that stuff as well?
Yeah, we that other little, the very first Flex app I did is just a little slideshow app, and the top of it is an actual drop-down box that gives the names of all the albums, and that's coming from an XML file again. And I just click on the name of it, and it basically tells Flex, okay, I want to see this album. Go get the XML file for that album and load it, and then bring in all the photos for that. So it's all being done dynamically. And if you're going to play with this, play with an XML file or something like that, because then you take that whole database equation out, and you can just have it locally in your source directory. You can start pointing to it and playing with it, and kind of get the feel before you move on to talking to databases.
What other kinds of applications do you talk about doing?
The one I was talking to Steve about at dinner last night was course scheduling, like a course schedule. Like you get your course schedule, and normally you have to click through to read a professor bio. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if I could click on click on that class and have a window slide out and a video of a professor talking for 3 minutes about this course and why you might want to take it as a student in Santa Clara. And that's top of my head. That was one I thought would be fun, and the students I think would appreciate personalizing it more.
How much cleanup is there to go from Catalyst to production?
They actually, I think, from Catalyst into FlashBuilder is pretty seamless. From the demos that I've seen, if you look under the hood of when I do that convert to a button or convert, it's doing a real clean component. And it's, but the nice thing is it's doing all that skinning for you ahead of time, as opposed to building it with generic components and then going back in FlexBuilder and figuring out how to skin it so that it doesn't look like a generic Flex app.
Would Catalyst be a place to start, do you think?
I think the direction I'm personally going in is design the interface first, then start doing your interactivity, and then do your backend code. While in the past I was always concerned about what the database structure going to look like, and then working towards this interface, I'm kind of reversing that now. So I think Catalyst is or Illustrator even is a good way to go. Or Photoshop, bring the graphics in to Catalyst and start adding interactivity.
So Catalyst's functionality to be able to create like those scroll bars and all that kind of thing, it does depend on vector art, like from Illustrator, you wouldn't be able to take
Fireworks. Yeah, I think as long as it's vector art, then you can work with it.
What generates the XML file? How do you?
That XML file that I was using,
Yeah.
I just hand coded it. But if you have a system that generates, like, you know how blogs generate an XML feed, you could actually point to a blog feed and pull that in.
But the one that you use for your images,
Yeah,
that's hand coded or?
yeah, I just made it up.
You can actually, like, even Excel or Access, you can export to XML.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just made it up by hand.
And then also, how does it handle image size resolution? If there are multiple, resolutions.
Well, usually what I do is I will start with whatever the maximum sized image is, and then you can actually set the height with parameters, and it can constrain the proportion, and then it'll resize it. It's okay. I wouldn't say it's like as sharp as when you blow it up, but if you actually go to Santa Clara's website and you go into like the alumni area, you can find there's a link to a photo album, and my slideshow is actually the bottom part is thumbnails. And you click on it, and it brings up a larger version of it. You can see what the quality's like. It's okay. It doesn't get distorted like HTML or anything like that. Are we okay on time?